Hello everybody and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about speed and velocity. And what's the difference between speed and velocity? Now, let's define what speed is. Speed is simply defined as the distance traveled in a specific amount of time. And the word here, distance, is different from the word displacement. So we must differentiate between distance and displacement. To do that, you must watch the previous video. Now, in other words, speed is the distance divided by time, and it is a scalar quantity because I already know that distance is a scalar quantity and time is a scalar quantity. So dividing a scalar quantity by a scalar quantity is going to give me a scalar quantity. And the equation is simply distance over time. So S for speed is distance over time. Okay? Now, velocity is how much an object position changes in a specific amount of time. So again, changes, delta. This takes us to the term displacement. So a position changes means displacement. So in other words, we can say that the velocity is equal to the displacement divided by time. It's a vector quantity. Now remember that displacement is a vector quantity. When we divide it by a scalar quantity, we will get a vector quantity, okay? And the equation is simply displacement, which we called it delta D, divided by time, okay? So mainly the difference between speed and velocity is that speed is the distance over time and velocity is the displacement over time. Going back to the example we saw in the previous video. Remember, we described a motion. We said if you went 3 steps to the right and then you went 4 steps forward, and we asked what is the distance and what is the displacement. We said that the distance is simply 3 plus 4, which was equal to 7. So this was the distance, okay? But when we mentioned, or when we asked what is the displacement, we have two vectors, the 3 and the 4, and the displacement is the shortest distance between this point, and we can draw it like this. And we said we can find it by using the Pythagorean theorem, which is equal to 3 squared plus 4 squared, and we got an answer equal to 5. This was equal to the displacement. So this is delta D. Now, you must watch the previous video if you don't understand what just happened here, okay? So we have that the distance is equal to 7 and we have that the displacement is equal to 5. Now, if I said that it took me 5 seconds to do this, which is moving 3 steps to the right and moving 4 steps forward, find the displacement, find the velocity and speed. Well, it's straightforward. If I want the speed, it's the distance over time. The distance is 7 steps and the time is 5 seconds. So we have a speed equal to 2.4 steps per second. Well, is the velocity going to be something different? Sure. Let's see. The velocity is the displacement over time, and we found that the displacement is equal to 5, and we will divide it by time, which is equal to 5. So the answer is equal to 1 step per second. So the speed is totally different from the velocity in this example. I hope that makes the difference between speed and velocity clear. Now let's solve some problems so everything can be more clear. The first question says that a truck travels 90 meters due north in 15 seconds, then it turns around and travels 40 meters due south in 5 seconds. What is the magnitude of the average velocity of the truck during the 20-second interval? So let's graph it. It went first of all upwards 90 meters and it took it 15 seconds. Okay, so it's 90 meters in 15 seconds. Then it went back and moved 40 meters and it took it 5 seconds. So 40 meters, it took it 5 seconds. It's asking to find the average velocity. So the velocity, we know that the velocity is equal to displacement over time. So if we ask what is the displacement, displacement is the final position minus the initial position. So this is our final position right here, and this is our initial position. We can say that the displacement is simply equal to 90 minus 40, which is equal to 50 meters. But what about the time? Well, the time is equal to the total time, which is equal to the 15 plus 5, which is equal to 20 seconds. So if I'm going to ask you what's the velocity, V is equal to delta D divided by T, which is equal to 50 divided by 20, which is equal to 2.5 meters per second. Let's see our choices. 2.5, 5, 6.5, and 7. And it's clear that the answer here is A. The second question. It says that a snail moves along a straight level sidewalk. The first 0.5 hours it traveled 2 meters, and the second 2.5 hours it traveled 4 meters. What is the average speed? So it's asking here about the speed, but there's another term here. It says what is the average speed? Well, okay, to find the average speed, first we need to find the first speed, which is how it took it half an hour to travel 2 meters, and the second speed, which is 2.5 hours to travel 4 meters. So let's start with the first speed. Speed number one is distance over time. The distance is equal to 2 meters divided by 0.5, which is equal to 4 meters per hour. So the speed here was 4 meters per hour. Then the second part of the trip, it said that it traveled 4 meters in a time equal to 2.5 hours. So it's 4 divided by 2.5, which is equal to 1.6 meters per hour. Now, we found the speed for the first interval, and we found the speed for the second interval. When you see the word average, you know how to find the average of anything. We will just add these values. So let's call it S average. The average speed is going to be equal to 4 plus 1.6 divided by 2, which is equal to 5.6 divided by 2, which is equal to 2.8 meters per hour. Let's see our choices. 2, 2.83, 4.5. The answer is clearly 2.8. Okay? So these are just warming up questions. They are very easy and straightforward. Let's see you in the next videos to introduce more important topics.